You, it's pretty early. I just came to bring my dog outside, and I figured since we're out here and the sun's coming up, I would try to like finish what the video that I started in the car the other day. So the last time I was on, I was talking about how if I had to restart my like vlogging thing, I would choose the Osmo Pocket 3 that I'm filming on over the ZVE 10 and the ZV1F, and like that's for a really specific like purpose, like that was like for me it was like if I had to like start from scratch, not knowing anything about what I was doing, not knowing cameras necessarily, jumping from my cell phone vlogging into like this kind of like interactive handheld vlog thing, that I would have chosen to go with the Osmo Pocket because it's a little bit more user friendly, easy to use, especially if you leave a lot of the settings in their automatic like function. So like right now I've got the like the shutter speed is selected like because I want it to be following the 180-degree shutter rule. So it's, my frame rate is 30 frames a second. So I'm at 1 over 60 for my shutter speed. If you want to get like a decent amount of like motion blur without it being like super unnatural or jittery, um, following that 180-degree rule will keep your like images looking pretty crispy. Plus the like image quality of the 1-inch sensor is pretty good. If you've got enough light in this area, like I feel like it's really like you can tell that you're shooting on something better than your phone. But it's not a dramatic difference, when you're shooting on a camera like this versus what you're getting on your phone. Like it's a pretty substantial ease of use difference when it comes to like getting the most out of the least amount of like stuff. You can attach like they have like these little like lavalier thing attachments that you can just plug into the USB-C thing of your camera of your phone, and it'll function in a pretty similar way to what this is doing. It's got a smaller sensor, so you're not going to get as much light, and you're not going to get as much depth of field unless you put it in cinematic mode. I feel like if you're shooting at this time of day or golden hour or like something like that, you'll probably not see as big of a dramatic difference as you will with something like the ZVE10 or the even the ZV1 or one of those like other like styles of vlogging cameras. Really, the dramatic difference is how stable this footage is compared to what you'll be shooting on your iPhone, what you'd be shooting on your like mirrorless camera, or what you'd be shooting on any of the other vlogging cameras, and even cameras with stabilization like the FX30 and the like I think the ZVE1 has active stabilization. Um, those are a little bit more like they're a little more stable than like the ZVE10, but like they're not as stable as this, which is like your micro jitters are balanced out. When I move around a little bit, like it follows me because it's of the face tracking, like. And then as long as I'm like, if I'm perfectly still, the camera is perfectly still. It feels like it's on a tripod, which is crazy. And I think that like for what I like to do, that matters a lot. But if you're gonna try to get into like active storytelling and stuff like that, I don't know. I've seen some people do some pretty cool stuff with this camera, but I do think that like you could probably, if the prices are not that different, like if you can find it used like I did, I think there is a like significant jump in quality in terms of like the video from like the Osmo Pocket to the ZVE10 Mark II or the FX30, especially the FX30. Um, like not that the sensor is any different, but like there's something about it that's a little bit better. The fans make it a little bit better, so you don't have to worry about overheating. But like, I feel like for a run and gun solution, this is still kind of like, I wish that I had known about this when I was shopping originally, because that's what I would have gotten instead of the ZV-1F. I still would have gotten the FX30 because I think the FX30 is probably the best camera I've ever owned, in terms of like general quality and in terms of like all of the features and functionality that it gives you. But I think value for money, if you're gonna go and pick one thing up to start doing this, it's really hard for me to be like, oh, there's anything else that's like gonna give you every creative option that this will. I've seen a lot of action camera vlogging videos lately, and I like that look a lot actually. Like, it's pretty cool, and they're way more rugged, and they're a little bit better designed for like being out in the field. But I still think that, like, as long as you're careful with the gimbal function, like not like knocking it over or knocking into it, I feel like this is a relatively sturdy like like the actual design of the camera body is relatively stable. It's just the gimbal that makes it a little precarious. And I feel like if you're careful, you don't have to worry about that too much. The ability to make these like micro adjustments, the ability to walk around and not worry about whether or not your footage is stable. Like, when I was holding the ZVE10, like, I was holding it just as steady as I am holding this, and it's a dramatic difference in how stable the footage is versus what I was doing just hand holding the other one. And I think, yeah, like image quality wise, future proofing is another consideration when you're talking about interchangeable lens camera system. A good microphone, buying good glass will do you better than any, like all in one kit in the long run. Because if you grab that stuff right off the rip, then when you decide, I've outgrown this particular camera body, and I want to upgrade, you don't have to like replace the entire kit. Like, if you buy this, like without a transmitter, uh, every part of this becomes functionally useless, um, until you buy something else if you want to upgrade. So like, the body is great. Like, the camera itself is great. And if you buy it together and use it together, it's great. But the second you feel like you're outgrowing this and you're done with using this system, I think there might be some like growing pains, because now I have to buy an interchangeable lens camera, and now I have to buy lenses, and now I have to buy ND filters and batteries and extra stuff that I didn't already have some of because I didn't go with an interchangeable lens camera in the first place. So that's just a consideration. Like, you just have to think, like, am I willing to give up the convenience of like having a running gun kit that's this small and this easy to use with this good of quality of image and sound and everything all out of the box as soon as you get it, for the long-term convenience of being able to switch out camera bodies whenever you want, being able to use more and different accessories easier. Like, there's no hot shoe mount on this. You could mount this to a hot shoe, but there's no hot shoe mount on the camera. There's the transmitters inside of the body, which makes using the mic with the camera very easy. But if you buy the transmitters and not a receiver like I did, then you end up having to buy a receiver in order to use the mics on any other camera if you like them. Now, they do have an internal recording. The DJI Mic 2 has an internal recorder on it, which is extremely useful for backup audio and for like, recording stuff on the fly, sort of. But it's not quite as reliable, I'd say, as having something like plugged directly into your camera. That's a little bit easier to like do the edit later and stuff like that, especially if you're just getting started. But yeah, I think Hallie's done. Yeah, she's looking at me like she's done. I'm gonna run inside. We'll chat a little bit more about this later. But yeah, I think the main considerations, if you're gonna look at one camera or the other, is do you want to start down the path of interchangeable lenses, or do you want one thing that will like let you jump out of the box and record immediately? Because if you get the interchangeable lens system, you have more work to do to get the same quality that you'll get out of this right out of the box. But once you do that work, it's like leaps and bounds. And you can look between the video that I've recorded here and the video that I recorded on the ZV-1F or on the FX30 and see the like dramatic quality jump between this and the ZV E10 or the FX30. And it's a pretty dramatic jump. But it's not like this looks bad. And it's way easier. Like, it's way easier. So I would think if I was just getting started, like I don't make no money off this stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like influence you one way or another to use an affiliate link or something. I don't even have that stuff. At least not at this point in the game. I do think, like, from my experience of doing this stuff, not just vlogging, but like photography and video in general. Like, I think if I had this when I started doing video, it'd have been a game changer for me. Because my biggest problem doing video back then was how much it cost and how much work it was to get decent quality video. Whereas now it's so much easier. And I feel like, especially if I was going to be filming something that wasn't going to be like action involved, like if I wasn't going to do a ton of, like I started out filming skateboarding and stuff. So I wouldn't buy this for that. Well, actually, I might, because it's a gimbal, just stay a little bit further away from everybody. But like, I think I would prefer like a regular action camera for that, or jump straight to a DSLR, which is a little, or not even a DSLR, but like a mirrorless camera nowadays, which is a little bit more rugged and a little easier to like maneuver. But I still think you could, use it. I think this is going to be something that in a few years, like once the hype dies down, you're going to start seeing it still more and more in like filmmakers toolkits and in video content creators toolkits, just because of how easy it is to whip out and start using. So yeah, that's a brief one. We'll come back and touch on it a little bit later, but I'm gonna take my dog inside and get ready for it. All right, in a minute. Peace.